Hi, I'm Juliet Burch, and I'm a short film programmer for FilmFest DC. And I would like to welcome with us today filmmakers Rachael DeCruz and Jeremy Levine, whose film is The PANOLA Project. And we are also honored to have with us Dorothy Oliver, the protagonist in this film, who was able to get 99% of her community vaccinated against COVID-19 in a state with one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country, an incredible accomplishment. Thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Our great pleasure. So I thought I'd start in a little bit of an unlikely place at the end of the film. Dorothy, could you tell us a little bit about lightning?
At the end of the film.
The gentleman who has
Lightning,
the fabulous
Lightning,
dance
yes.
moves.
Oh yes, he's a dancer. I can tell you that. But yeah, he's an older guy. He's 80-some years old. I like him to be close to 90 now. But he's up in his 80s. And I used to work with him at Waste Management for about 20 years, but he retired long before I left. But and he loved to dance, and he just loved people, and he's just a great person. And he was willing to, I called him up. He don't live in the Panola area. He lives in the Johnning town. And he, all of them come over. When I called him, he said, I need my vaccination. So, and I called him and told him we was gonna do it and got their name on the list, and they came over and got it. His whole family. Matter of fact, his daughter, the daughter that you saw talking to film said she didn't know how to get it. That was his daughter. So
that's incredible. Yes, and they were in the car together.
Yeah, they were in the car together, and she
right.
thanked us for letting them know how to get their shot. So yeah, that was his daughter.
Well, Lightning really, to me, somehow he really personifies this sense of community, and that scene at the end with the two of you dancing just was fantastic. And I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about Panola. How many people live there, first of all?
Okay, we have approximately 340 that, the reddish one, not including the children. 340 people live in Panola. And it was a little more than that, I think, at the beginning of it, when we first started doing it, but we lost a few people. It wasn't through COVID. We only lost one person through COVID at the time. So that was a blessing right there, So, but it's just a rural town, and we kind of long ways from everything. We have to go 30 miles plus just to get, at first we had to go that far just to get our vaccination. It was right at, no, it was close to 40 miles at first, because we had to go to a hospital, because when they first started, it was mostly just a hospital and the health department. You couldn't go to the drugstores and those guys to try to get it. So we had to go close to 40 miles to get it, but we got a lot of them vaccinated going back and forth. But then we was able to get the vaccination up in Panola, brought it to Panola. And so that made us be able to get just about everybody vaccinated.
So was there a moment when you had made a decision that you need to take this project on? Was there a moment for you? And if so, can you describe that moment?
Yes, there was a moment. There was some sleepless nights for me. Yeah. So when it first started, or just before it first started, I was wrestling with trying to figure out what I could do to help my town. So like I always told them, I went to bed at night when it on my mind, trying to figure out. I get up the next morning, trying to figure out what to do. And after a day or two, went on, it was like, I know what I need to do. And I know that God put on my heart to help my town. So I just lit right into it and went to calling the different peoples and let them know, kind of educate them, let them know this stuff is serious. This virus is serious, and we need to get ready to start taking our shots. So I just went to calling, educating them. And then when shots came on, I would make appointments. And then the ones didn't have no way, we made sure we had a way for them, So that's where it started in the beginning.
It's an incredible amount of community organizing. Had you ever done any community organizing before?
Oh, yes, yes. I work
Okay.
with,
Yeah.
I work with a lot of, they work with the daycare center where I'm the vice president right now. I work,
Okay.
matter of fact, I work to help establish the daycare center. So I worked on many projects. So people know me in the community too, and they know that I'm a person, a serious person. and, they
And you
know,
can get it done.
and they know me, they know I'm gonna do what's right and I'm gonna tell them what's right. And that's helped me a whole lot because people look up to me and they just come to me. What do we need to do, Miss Olive? What do we need to do? So it was just good working with them and seeing how concerned they was about their health. So
I'm going to turn to Rachel and Jeremy for a moment. How did you learn about Dorothy's story?
Yeah, sure. So we were looking for a way out of the mess that we were in. It had been, it continues to be a long number of years of a pandemic, and we were super excited that there was this vaccine that was going to come out. It was like incredibly effective, way more than anyone thought, way faster than anyone thought it could be developed. And like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We can finally get out of this thing. And then the rollout was somewhat of a disaster. And we're seeing, just a lack of access. We're seeing kind of hesitancy and pushback, and that was super depressing. And so we were trying to figure out like what can we do to be part of some way of pushing this forward instead of just moping around the house and cursing at the state of the world. And so we were reading about a bunch of folks who were trying to do the work that kind of was being left in a vacuum by the government. And Dorothy was one of the people we read about. It seemed amazing what she was doing. We couldn't find a working phone number, so we just drove the hour 15, hour 30 to Panola and walked into the convenience store, and Dorothy was on the phone trying to get somebody to sign up to get a shot as we walked in. And so that was pretty much, we had this like amazingly long conversation with her. Rachel and I had been like mostly quarantined for, I don't know how long, over a year at that point. So that was the longest conversation with somebody new in person in quite a long time. We were immediately blown away by what Dorothy was doing, and wanted to do what we could to share that with the world.
And I think you can't underestimate the power of that first in-person conversation. I mean, I remember that moment for me, and there's something about a great relationship that's even magnified by the power of being able to be in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did the community feel about being filmed? And maybe Rachel, do you want to tune in on that a little?
Yeah, sure. So, I think the reason we were able to make this film on so many different levels is all because of Miss Dorothy and kind of the trust that the people of Panola have in Miss Dorothy, right? It's like, first off, the film just wouldn't have been possible without her because she was the one doing the work, and the film is like structured around sharing her work, but also just the level of access we were able to receive because we kind of showed up to places with Miss Dorothy, and because she was vouching for us and encouraging people to be a part of sharing Panola's story with the kind of broader world. I think it just it made our jobs a lot easier. We certainly would have had to spend, I would say, multiple more months kind of building those relationships and that level of trust with the community to be able to get the level of footage that we were able to access because of Dorothy, just because of who Dorothy is.
Yeah, I thought it was really quite extraordinary. It was so clear that you had the trust of the community, and so that really left an impression on me. It was really seamless, the filming.
Yeah.
So Dorothy, you had a partner that shows up in the film. Can you tell us a bit about her?
Yes, that was our commissioner. That's Commissioner Drusilla Jackson. Anytime you got something going on, she gonna call and she ready to be a part of it. That's when I always tell them is a good way to try to get people vaccinated. Get those leaders involved. When you get them involved, then that helps out a whole lot. whatever I needed, me and Ms. Jackson, we communicated. And I called her up. I said, we're at this point. She called me up and she worked with me the whole
She
time.
seemed
And
like
matter of fact, yeah,
an amazing partner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anything going on, she gonna call me. I need you. Just about anything she got going on with the commission. I need you on a Zoom call. I need you. You know, she's a person really working the community that we can call on, and she really willing to help us. So she's a great commissioner.
So there was a peak moment in the movie for me, and I'm wondering if all of you could just talk about that. And it is the moment where, Dorothy, you are talking to the reluctant young man who's barbecuing.
Oh, yes.
And he really is trying to tell you he just wants none of it, politely.
Yes,
But
yes.
you win him over, and you win him over. You've got this warmth and generosity, and then you also tell him a really sad story about your nephew's wife. And I'm just wondering, that really moved me. In fact, I'm feeling like I might have to do a little of this, but just thinking about it. Could you tell us a little bit about that, and Rachel and Jeremy too, what it was like to capture that moment? Because that seems like a really peak moment in the film.
Yes, it was a great moment. And I just kind of try to keep it like calm and talk nice to him, no matter how the situation was, you know. And that helped. What I found out, that helped better than anything. Go to people's in a nice way, stay calm, laugh a little bit, you know, it ain't gonna hurt nothing, you know, and joke with them a little bit. You know, we know that's not a joking matter, but kind of win them over, you know, and that's what happened. And it's kind of hit me all at once, kind of like you said, did you, thinking about my niece that we lost, you know, and I thought I would share that with him. And I think that helped out a whole lot, you know, because he come back and asked me about that. And I told him, he did. And I told him, I said, it just happened all at once. You know, she was really feeling bad, you know, and just like a little cold. And after that, you know, a couple of days, she was gone, just like that.
Well, interesting that he came back and asked you about that, and that really did have an impact. And I think the power of your positive energy while you're telling that really sad story, there's something about that was just extraordinary. And what was Jeremy and Rachel, tell us what filming that scene was like for you?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it was obviously a very crucial moment for the film. It was really just like an honor and privilege to see it unfold in action. I mean, up until that point, we had mostly or entirely, everyone was just like, yeah, I'm on board, or I've already gotten my shot. And, you know, it had become pretty clear that unlike a lot of the narratives we were seeing about why people weren't getting the vaccines, the case for the folks in Panola was way less to do with resistance or even just like hesitancy, and way more to do with a lack of access. And so, right, mostly it was like these quick, you know, driving up, honking the horn, and people were ready to go. They'd sign up, or they'd be like, I'm all set, I've already gotten it. And Ladenzel was the first one who was obviously a bit more on the fence, wasn't sure what he wanted to do there. And it was just amazing to see the way Dorothy approached it. I mean, she just laid out her approach beautifully, but it's just so, it's like, it seems like such common sense, and yet it seems like the opposite of what most of us are conditioned to do nowadays, right? Like, we're supposed to just yell at each other, or like put each other down, or call each other stupid, or just like get on social media and like, I don't know, soft troll each other. And obviously, like, that's like, none of that's going to do anything. All that does is push us further away from each other. And what Dorothy does is she shows up with warmth and love and humor and respect, and all of that just makes such a world of difference. And obviously the built-in relationship that, right, like, there is this real community underneath that has frayed in so much of society. And that's what allows Dorothy to do the incredible work that she's able to accomplish.
I do think it's a template for world peace, honestly. And yes, I think it is, for most of us, it's human nature. When you get resistance, then you start to resist too. And instead of just going with it and softening and really opening your heart to that person. And yeah, so again, that was really powerful. Rachel, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I think in addition to the clearly like deep love and care that Dorothy has for all of the people you see her interacting with in the film, she was so curious with how she approached people, right? She really genuinely wanted to hear people's questions, their concerns, their fears, and she created the space for people to share that in a way that was also beautiful to watch, right? I think people felt safe being able to talk with Dorothy about these things because they knew she wasn't gonna like judge them or shame them or laugh at them, and that she would genuinely answer to the best of her ability and try to find information that if she didn't have the answer kind of already. And I think it's a model for how we can move forward as a country on like so many different issues, right? Like you just said, this isn't just about the pandemic and the vaccine. We are grappling with some really hard things right now collectively, and we have to figure out ways to be able to come together and talk with each other, ways that bring us closer together instead of further apart. And it was so beautiful to watch Dorothy do that with Denzel. And I think the other thing to flag is just, which is also evident throughout the whole film, is just her persistence, right? It would have been really easy for her to turn around and walk away after 10 or 15 minutes of that conversation and just be like, well, we tried, he's not interested. The conversation in the film, it's just a short snippet of it. It lasted for a very long time. And she was very patient and she kept pushing, but she pushed in a way that was gentle and filled with love, right? As opposed to the way that Jeremy named that we see unfolding, unfortunately, around us on social media all the time.
And maybe if I could just quickly add, I mean, I think one example that really brings this home too, there was one other gentleman and kind of our kind of going around with Dorothy as she's going door to door and Miss Jackson. And this one other gentleman was way more right, like Denzel was somewhere on the fence. This guy was like, no way, like this is a scary thing. I'm not gonna do this. Like, he had all kinds of conspiracy theories that he was throwing out. And even in that interaction, it was like, you'd expect Dorothy and Miss Jackson to just like laugh him off or, just be like, all right, like peace out, like we're out of here. And instead, right, it was another 30, 45-minute conversation. And it was, right, like obviously they're coming from like two very different points of view. They have two very deep-rooted sets of beliefs there. And yet, once again, there was just like they're telling, as they're driving away, they didn't convince him at that moment. But they're saying like, we love you, right? that was a part of the conversation, even though they had these pretty polar opposite perspectives that they were coming in with. And we were playing with what should we include this in the film, and there ended up not being time for it. By the time the film came out, he still hadn't gotten a shot, and today he has. And that's like, I mean, I don't know how many months later that was, 6 months, 9 months later, but like Dorothy and Miss Jackson just never gave up on him and moved somebody who I think we as a society would be very clear, like, oh, he's in this like conspiracy theory rabbit hole, he'll never get the shot. And I think this experience shows that with the right approach, we can reach a lot more people than we think we can.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound like, that spirit of love plants a seed. So, you feel at the moment you haven't been successful, but it's a long trajectory. Success is a long trajectory. It doesn't all happen in a moment. So that's really incredible. Were there other, I always like to ask filmmakers, I know, you film much more than you include, than you can possibly include in your film. Was there another kind of beloved moment that you needed to cut out, or something that was particularly interesting to you that just didn't make it in?
Yeah, there was a whole, there was a much longer interaction sort of at the pop-up clinic during vaccine day, where Dorothy was having a conversation with the woman who had lied to her and Ms. Jackson previously about getting the shot. She had told both of them when they'd asked her that she already received it, even though she hadn't, because she was scared to get it. And so we were playing around with having that be a little bit more of a story during the vaccine day, but it just felt like there wasn't enough space for it, unfortunately. But I loved that moment, and just like the joy with which they were having that conversation when she kind of disclosed that she'd lied. It was a really, it was just a really hilarious moment.
That sounds really interesting. I'm sorry we couldn't see all of it. This is the first project that you and Jeremy have worked on together, right? And how was that for you? Because you are partners in business and partners in life.
Yeah, I can get us started with this one, and then Jeremy, please weigh in. I think we know that we kind of care about the same things and are coming from a values aligned place. So that obviously helps. It wasn't clear to us though, what it would be like to kind of work together at this level of depth on a project like this. And, I feel like we worked well together. Hopefully Jeremy does as well. I think we bring complementary skill sets, right? Jeremy's been making films for over a decade. I've been doing racial justice organizing work and a lot of communications work and storytelling work. And so I think those two things kind of paired together allowed us to really paint a comprehensive picture of what was happening in Panola, and to do it in a way that really ensured that people were kind of confronting the ways in which governmental decisions, policies, and kind of a lack of investment and a lack of resources getting to Panola had created the conditions that we saw, and created the scenario that Dorothy was kind of living with and trying to fight back against. And so we wanted to tell that story in a thoughtful way, and be sure that folks, as they left seeing the film, had a deeper understanding of both like what life is like in Panola and what it feels like to live in Panola, but also had a sense of the ways in which our institutions and systems have really failed those folks, right? And it was fun to get to work with Jeremy on figuring out how we craft that story in a way that wasn't too heavy-handed, but also still got across the point.
It sounds like it was just a really fruitful new partnership, and you both had the perfect set of skills to bring together for this particular project.
Yeah. I mean, it was really wonderful. It feels like it could have gone terribly wrong, but it luckily didn't. I think for the most part, we tried to emulate Dorothy's approach to life in both the filmmaking style and maybe in having some generosity with each other as we were working on the project as well. And there might have been a few times where Rachel we'd be in the edit room, and Rachel would be like, let's try out this thing, and I'd be like, oh, she's never made a film before, that's like such a dumb idea, that'll never work. And then I'll be like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And then it like worked brilliantly. And so there's some of those moments, but overall it worked really well.
I think we're getting kind of near the end of our time. I wanted to ask Miss Dorothy, does the project continue? Tell me what you are doing now. I know we're in booster season and all of that.
Yes, it is definitely continuing. But I want to go back and tell about the guy that didn't get gave us a hard time.
Yeah, please.
He gave us a hard time, a really hard time. He said, well, nothing but politics, everything. He came, he got his shot, came back to me, Miss Dorothy, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for everything you do in this community. And I just teared up when he came back to me, because he gave me a hard time, but I never gave up on him. So I just want to put that out there, But we wound up, I guess, the second part of your question, what it was now? You asked.
Just where the project is now. Are you
where it is
still
now.
at it?
Okay.
Yeah. or?
There it is right now. We're still working on it. Matter of fact, I talked to a lady just the other day trying to get the booster. Some of them still hadn't got that booster shot. So we're working on that right now and trying to get out. We got most of the children. We got the ones that was eligible to get their shots. We got all of them their shots. And now we're still working on the booster shot. We got a few. I mean, the problem is it's in a rural community. And everybody come to me every day. When you gonna bring the peoples back up so we can get our booster? It's hard for us to get somebody to come up in this community. I went to one, they told me, said, they can just go get the booster now. They can just go get the boosters. They won't bring the site to us. I had one company that would bring the site, American, out of Tuscaloosa. As a matter of fact, he sent me a text the other day that he would come out to do it. But he only gives the Pfizer vaccine. And most of them in this area got the Moderna, and they don't want to mix it up, So the problem I'm having now, but I have put a call in to the hospital in York, the one that we started with, and one that brought the site up to us. And the lady have not called me back. The head lady. I went past the nurse and went to the head lady and left a message with her to call me back. Because a lot of people don't have ways to go, and we're trying to get it back into Panola. So I'm working on that part now, trying to get the rest of the boosters and everything.
We need to have all those healthcare professionals see this film.
Yes, I agree. Yes. Because I shouldn't have to beg for it. I shouldn't have to beg for a site.
You should not.
But we had to beg for the first one we got. Matter of fact, they thought we was going to just not think about it when they told us we had to have 25 people or more, or 40 people in order for them to come up. So we got them and they came up to do it.
Amazing.
So we shouldn't have to do that. Mm-hmm.
Jeremy and Rachel, what's the trajectory of the film from here? You were at Sundance, that was extraordinary. And what's next for the Panola Project?
Yeah, we're excited to continue bringing it to different communities. The film also just launched as a Vimeo staff pick, a bit of a different version than the one that's going on festivals, but yeah, it's continuing to reach lots of people. We're starting to work with Oxfam on also, using the film to start discussions, not just, right, for us, the film isn't just about, vaccinations, or it's not just about the pandemic, it's about what Dorothy is speaking of, right? Just these huge gaps in investment by the government. Like, Dorothy shouldn't have to be begging to get a vaccine. Like, in an ideal world, Dorothy shouldn't have to be doing any of this work, or if she's doing this work, she should get paid for this work, right? There's all of this potential, there's all this untapped energy and leadership in communities across the country. And if we put our resources into giving them the tools they needed, giving them the resources they needed, we could go so far, not just in confronting the pandemic, but in so many structural issues. And we just want to make it very clear that, right, we're celebrating Dorothy, we're celebrating Miss Jackson, and so many oftentimes Black women who are just doing incredible work to pick up the pieces left by the kind of lack of organization, the lack of investment by the government, and that we need to do better, right? We need to be putting resources into the community. And maybe I could just do one little shameless plug. We think Dorothy needs and wants that. No, sorry, she doesn't want it. We think we want it. We think Dorothy deserves like the highest recognition for all of the work she does, and as a way to celebrate so many kind of community leaders across the country. And so we've started a humble little petition to try to get her recognized by the White House. The little URL is bit.ly/Dorothy Medal. I can send that out in an email to y'all if maybe you can share it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are on board.
Awesome.
That is fantastic. Rachel, did you have a final word you wanted to say about where things are going with the film?
I'll just, I think we've just been so overwhelmed at the response we've gotten, and it's all because people just love Miss Dorothy like so much, right? It's like I feel like the ways in which this film has been able to spread out into the world has been really, really beautiful to watch. And in addition, like Jeremy said, to elevating the work that Dorothy's doing, we very much see this film as a love letter to Black women, thanking them for their service and the ways that they step up, and want to continue to do whatever we can from our vantage point to really push for policy change that will help make just a difference in the communities that people like Dorothy are fighting for.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for your intelligence, your compassion, your positive energy, and your inspiration. I am totally inspired. I might have to watch PANOLA Project for the 10th time after we get off the call because I love it so much. Best of luck to all of you on this project, and we'll do everything we can to support you. And to our Film Fest DC audience, thank you for watching and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.